All right.
Yeah, you may start now. You can start now, please.
Um, Good morning, everyone. Um, Welcome to another um, segment of the KD session. Okay, so I'll be sharing my screen now. So, see that. Sorry, give me a minute. All right. Um, okay. Okay. Okay.
Please, you
Um,
should do something about. Hello, you should do something about your sound. Is it my network?
my sound. Is there a problem with it?
Yes, I can hear some like noise.
There's something in the background. So, or what? Sorry, give me a minute. Let me switch up this sound. How is it now? Is it okay? Is it okay?
But let me talk now. I don't know if it's from my network. You can proceed.
All right. I can't hear you well. Well, I can't hear you well.
Yeah,
Okay. Like, can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
you sound and clear now. You can proceed.
All right. Okay. So, okay. Good morning, everyone. For today's KD session, we'll be looking at a very important topic, or if any software engineer or any software developer or any IT person or personnel is to do well, as you know, in the sphere of IT or web, or software development. This is a very, very important topic, and today we'll be considering software development life cycle. Okay, so basically, what this is all about is the framework, the the stages, the phases that are required in software development. In like in wherever phase of software you might find yourself, maybe with machine learning engineer, with backend engineer, with front-end developer, or you want to work on a certain software project. Now, this life cycle of phases are more like a framework or guiding processes that will help you, to actualize whatever it is that you want to build. Okay, so go on now. So these are things that will be considered today for the time being. So now the software life cycle is a process. It's more like a um, a lay down guidelines, processes used by developers, software engineers, to design, develop, and test the softwares. A wise man once said that who is such a person that want to build a house and they won't first sit down to count the cost, or to like check the things that will be needed for this building. You should know that if such a person just starts building, whatever is building might not get anywhere because such a one is, plan, didn't through, the required processes to uh, ensure that that building will be erected. So it's a question of what which cycle are you following? What processes are you using? To to develop your software and design your software. All right. So quickly go to the next slide. All right. So now they are what we call the SDLC components. More like now the SDLC means the software development life cycle. Now they are components of the SDLC. Now we could call them methodologies. We could call them detailed plans, and what they do and what these components are for is that they basically develop. They basically um, more like improve the quality of the software. They like when you pick these pieces or these components, you apply them in your phases of software development, what comes out of it is a very high quality software. So now they're more like detailed plans describing how to develop, maintain, replace, and alter specific um, software. All right. So now there are software developments, like lifecycle phases. So firstly, you start with the um, sorry, give me a minute. Okay, so firstly, we start with the planning and requirements phase. Then we go over to design and prototyping phase. Then we have also the building and implementation phase. We also have the software testing and integration. Well, then we have the deployment and maintenance. Now we'll be discussing each of these phases, in detail as we go on, with this slide. So now if actually you want to have a very very good output, or if actually you want to develop high quality and very very good and standard softwares, now it's important that you understand all these phases, now what each of these phases stands for. Now we have the plan and requirements phase. Now I'll just give like a short summary of this phase. Now in this plan and requirement phase, now it's here, you have the team or whoever that's going to work on such a project going out, sitting out carefully to count, to check all that will be required for this project. Now it's a place where you sit down with the customer or the consumer, like whoever you're going to be delivering this project to, and you are taking account of things that would operate in this particular software. You are you're more like drawing a pattern. Okay, gathering the requirements for the software. That's what the plan and requirement stage is about. Then now in the design and prototyping, now in this phase, you are looking at a situation where whatever it is that you've gathered as requirements, like whatever it is you've gathered that should be part of the project, you are putting all of them together, and then you are more or less like making a prototype. Now, what you call a prototype is more like a standing example or a model of the real project that you want to build. Understand? So now that's where you have the design and the prototyping phase. Now, the output of this phase, now of this of the design and prototyping phase is where you have already a model of what you want to build. You already have a picture. Now, not just the picture. Now, you have more or less like actualized the picture, but you've actualized it on a small scale. You get so that is what the design and prototyping phase, is about. Now, sorry. Now, when you're done with the design and prototyping phase, because now you already have a working model of your software or your project. So you now go to the phase where you now begin to build and implement. Now here you have various modules of this project being brought together. You know different phases of this project being built up, and then the main project is eventually built. So now in this phase, you are actually more like implementing what you have, the model you have built in design and prototyping stage on a small scale. Now you are kind of building it for real, building it on a large scale. Now, when you're done with this stage, it's now time for software testing, and integration. But now in this phase, what you're just doing is, is like you are testing the the project you just worked on, and then you are testing it in, in more like a semi sorry, like a semi environment. Yes, like you are checking each phase, you're checking whether each requirement that was desired by the consumer or desired by whoever that will have you work on this project. You're checking if this if each of these requirements are present. You're checking for bugs, you're checking for errors, you're checking how how this program will work in a real lifetime environment. Now when you're done with that, now this is where your software has been deployed. Now here you have the infrastructure team deploying this. Now you're checking how it will behave on the server, checking if okay, sorry. In this phase, you're really not checking because you're more like, because since you've already done the software test and integration, the deployment like a maintenance, you're just deploying it to be used, and then you are you are maintaining the server, ensuring that it's this like whatever it is you built is working fine, it's working well. For example, if it's a web application that you design, you're gonna host it on on a server. So checking each time if the server will be down, because now this phase is actually very important, because if after you've worked on everything and like whatever it is you built, it's not working, the server is down here and there. Now, people that you have actually built them for might not really appreciate like whatever it is you've done, because they're not seeing it use. So now each of these phases are very, very important, for a successful software project. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. Sorry. Okay, okay. Now we have the planning and requirements phase. So as I said earlier, basically in this phase, you are just gathering all requirements, all specifications, all the consumer expectations, everything related or everything concerned about the project you're working on. They've actually been considered, and they are all gathered, by the team. Now this process could take more than a month, more than 2 years at times, or like it could take a while. It could take quite some while. Now the reason being that if all the requirements are not carefully considered, if all the expectations of the consumer are not looked at very well and well assessed, you could encounter glitch or a problem in the process of development that could, alter, or stop the whole project, or will make you start again. So this phase is actually very important. So as it's, as I said, it gives the foresight needed to develop a software project. It just gives the needed foresight that, okay, this is the mindset with which you are going to use, to develop this project. Okay, so then move up next to design and prototyping phase. Now, in this phase, they have um, the teams make uh, design guidelines, runtimes, frameworks. They create all that's concerned with this project. More like after all the requirements have been gathered in the planning and requirement phase. Now, those requirements gathered, from those requirements gathered, guidelines are now made. The right framework to be used for such a project, for such a project is adopted, and design resolutions. Um, um, Now, in this phase, they get everything that needs, that is going to be used for this project. They get every what's the word? They get every frameworks. They get every design patterns. Everything that is to be used for this project is gathered in this phase. Now, the thing is, outside this phase, like, you can't bring anything new again into this project. That is why everything that has to do with this project is gathered and is documented. So now at the end of this phase, what comes out is a working prototype, of more like on a small scale of the whole, of the software project, that you want to design. That now this phase is also very, 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 very important. So if the end of this phase is not actualized, we cannot go to the next phase, which is the building and implementation phase. Now, in the building and implementation phase, yeah, we're more like bringing whatever it is that you've prototyped or modeled down, and sorry about that, and making it a very, very, and really building the project. I'll give, like a very good example. Um, um, Builders or building engineers who want to raise a building, for example. Now, after they've designed it, yeah, using AutoCAD, they get such buildings. Now they build a model on it, like of such of building, on like AutoCAD. Yeah. And then now they now start testing that model that they've created. They check for how this building will behave when there's an earthquake of like a magnitude of 5.0, 6.0. Like they check um, like different scenarios, or maybe there's a flood. How would this building react under such, like circumstances? So now that is now the essence of the design and prototyping phase. Because here, what you're majorly saying is that um, this is the model that we are building, you get, and you are more like attacking that model, or like checking the model for excesses, that okay, probably there's this error that comes up in this, in the prototype that you built. You are kind of checking it so that when you are actually building the real thing, such issue doesn't come up again. So now here you are now in the building and implementation phase. You are more like implementing the prototypes that you built and the specifications that you built. Okay, so Now, when you have actually built the real thing, now it's now time to actually test the what you what you've actually designed. You know, like you're checking each unit, each module, performing end-to-end test verification. You're checking for errors. You're checking for bugs. You're checking for each possible situation that project or that software will be deployed or used. Now, for this phase, they even try to employ software testing engineers. That's those who will actually sit down and check the software. Now, now you could also now the team that actually designed the software again could also check or test the software, but it is preferable that a software testing engineer is employed to thoroughly check the software. Now, this could also take like a, like a lot of time because of because they will they're going to like test every possible scenarios, every possible outcomes of the project. So now after that, we now have this situation whereby now the software is brought into the production environment. The project is tested, is shared with consumers. Now that's where you have people put their apps on Play Store, and then they're like like a section for reviews whereby people could comment. This app is hanging. This app is this app is that. You understand? Now, whatever it is they get, feedback they get from the consumers, they bring it back, into the software, and then they more like make the corrections and even bring up updates and stuff. Then now also in the deployment and maintenance phase, there it's still a process of following up on this software that you've deployed it into the production environment. How is it behaving? How are the consumers seeing it? How exactly is it behaving on their phones? How exactly will it behave if 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 it is being used by the consumers, and wherever it is that comes out of it, issues or changes are made to the project. Okay, so in conclusion, so now the SDLC is the framework defining tasks, performed active steps, the software development processes, and these are the phases of the cycle, the planning requirements, phase, design and prototyping phase, the building and implementation phase, software test and integration, the deployment and maintenance phase. Now, there are what we also call the software development lifecycle models. Now, probably in like in next KD or anyone who would be doing that would would talk about that. Now, in such models, they're more like um, still making use of these SDLC phases, but yeah, you are kind of engineering them or like using them to fit that project that you're trying to build. Yeah. Now, in now I'll give a very good example. There is a model whereby you are like in each stage you are using that's the plan and requirements, design and prototyping, the building and implementation. You're just building it like you're following the whole stages. I think it's called the incremental model, whereby like you're following the plan and requirements, design and prototyping, building and implementation, software testing and integration, and the deployment and maintenance. They're doing it continuously, like continuously until you reach the desired product that you want to get. So now there are other models like that. There are other models like that, but they are still centered on the SDLC phases. All right. So does anyone have any questions Any questions? I don't have any questions. Any questions I would ask?
I have a question.
Okay. Who's that?
And are you done with the presentation?
Yes, I've done. I'm done.
Okay. I want to ask, in the SLDC, where does the agile model, agile stuff come in the process of software development life cycle?
All
I mean,
right.
since
Okay.
it was not mentioned, like I kind of
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. What's this slide that contained is more like an introduction into the SDLC, and what I really majored on here was the phases in the software development lifecycle. Now, if you like remember, I also mentioned something about the software development lifecycle models. Now, these models, as I said earlier on, are more like, now they are centered on the phases, but but it's they're applied in in different formats. For example, now the agile um, like model is like a software development lifecycle model. Now, if you do a study on it, understand, you would see that it is also centered on the phases, but they're more like applied, like a different manner. It might not follow, like follow this, this, like the way the phases are aligned, like it might not follow that, but it is still centered on plan and requirements. All these phases are, are highlighted. So these are like the keys you would use, and that you see in any model, in any software development model. Understand? Does that answer your question? Sorry. Who? Sorry, please ask a question.
It's okay.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Is there another question? All right. Okay.
Okay,
I have a
sorry.
question.
If I may
Yes.
pick another one again. In because in the requirement, what could be the difference between a requirement and specification in this SLTC,
Okay.
SDCL also, SDLC?
Okay. Sorry. Just so I get your question clearly. Specifications, you mean as in the boundaries of the project? Is that what you mean by that?
If in the planning process,
Okay.
uh,
Okay, in the planning process, what's the difference between requirements and
and specification,
specifications?
yes.
Okay, yes, it's basically the same thing. If you cast your mind back to what I said in the plan and requirement phase, the end product of this phase is, you should get a foresight of of what you're going to do in the project. That is the end product of this phase. So the specifications of this project should have been settled. All that you want to build as regards this project should have been settled in the planning and requirements phase. So the requirement is also settled as a specification of this phase.
Sorry, if I might even say something.
Okay.
Sorry, I think
No.
specification is sorry.
Yeah. Well,
I
let
think
me
specification is planning. I don't think requirements are not the same. I think
No, they are
specification
not the same.
is standard. Specification is standard.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
You can.
Now look at requirement and specification. Look at where a little difference in between them. Requirements are, because if you are talking about software development, there are two parts here. Number one, you are building software for end users
All right.
and possibly for customers.
Okay.
And on the other hand, there are developers that will build it. In the place of between requirement and specification, requirement is what the data and the information that we gather from the end, from the owners of the software, the users of the software, the people that will use it. For example, if it's a medical software that is going to monitor a patient in the hospital that will beat into a device. Now, those in the healthcare center will have to provide information, what they want the software to do, how they want it to work, the different functions. Now, that is requirement. Now, when it comes to
specification
now becomes what the developers, the standard and the things the developer described on the software. That is what I say about that is the difference between that requirement and specification. Requirement deals with the user, the end users, the people that want to use the software, while specification are those ones that is specified by the developers that should be followed in the mode of designing the software. So there's a clear-cut difference between them.
Okay.
That's my little contribution.
All right. All right. Okay, does anyone want to say anything again? Is there anyone that wants to say something? Okay. Yeah, I understand exactly what you said. But if I may ask, like after, okay, so are you like saying that like after like the requirements, there's more like a specification stage, or please can you shed more light? There's nice moment, so or yes,
no, come again. You said what?
I said because you are like from what you said, you are like dividing the requirement stage from the specification, right? Like you are separating requirement and specification, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what stage will you put specification under?
No, they are still all together in the same planning. This thing, they are still all together in the same planning phase. Because it's from the requirements that that is received from the users, the end user, the people who intend to use it. Still on the planning phase. That's what the developers is going to use. Maybe the architect, software architect will have to use to design before it now define the specification, the instructions, and everything to give to the developers that will develop the code.
Okay,
so because since a software project, the software architects will also have to come in. They have different roles there to play. Then the developer, the people that will actually deal with the code, they have different roles to play as well. Then getting the information from the customers is also a different thing as well. And that is, the requirement is very critical, because if the requirement is not received correctly and the software is embarked on, the project is embarked on, and then later on it may be rejected. So requirement is very, very important. Getting what the customer really wants. It takes someone that has a keen listening ear to ensure that you get what actually the customer described that he wants, not to build what you think that the customer said.
Yes,
so it's very critical. That requirement is getting that requirement is very, very, very important.
Yes,
so that's why it's still in the planning phase. Everything is inside the planning phase.
Well,
so it's very critical.
Okay, but it is still the same thing we're saying now. It is still under the plan and requirements phase.
Yes, it's still under planning and requirements.
Yes. What comes out of this phase is the foresight for the project. Once you leave this phase, you cannot go back into deciding what you want. Exactly what we're saying.
I'm just trying to separate so that you see it. You see the difference, and we understand it, because it's very, very that requirement. So there's some people spend naira and money upon project only for you to finish it. I say, this is not what your picture I created or whatever. And that would be a loss of energy.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Is
yes.
that right? Okay.
Yes, you can go on.
The reason for the planning and specification is
Okay.
requirement and specification is in the planning phase is this. I think
Okay.
specification determines what is required for the project. You want to produce a bottle, for instance, you have the standard of bottle you want to use. The standard determines the technology you will employ. If it comes to software development, you have a standard you want to keep, and it determines what would be required. It doesn't have to actually do with the consumers, actually. But in this phase of planning, this context doesn't have anything to do with the consumers. That is what I perceive here. It's just between the developers, the people developing the software. What kind of software are we trying to dish out? What kind of software, what is the standard? The standard of what we are giving out determines the technology we are going to employ. Technology will be the requirement for the standard. That is just the simple explanation for this. Not necessarily bringing the consumers here. Consumers are not, though there will be, when you plan a project, you must always consider your consumers. But in this context,
Yes,
in
yes.
this context,
Yes.
we are not talking about consumers. We are talking about the developers, what standard they want. The standard will now determine the technology they are going to employ. Simple. Thank you. That's what I just want to say. It's a correction, actually, from whatever all of
Okay.
you just.
Okay. Sorry. Like just like get you very well. It sounded like you're talking about the design. That's because for them to actually follow like a specification or like like a technology that they want to use, that's more like a design guideline. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay, that means it is design guideline that you want to follow to use to build, the that's the project that you want to embark on, right?
Not totally design guideline, actually. Let
Okay,
me
okay,
make you
okay.
understand.
All right.
If let me drift from software. If I want to build a
Okay.
house,
Yeah.
I want to build a concrete house. I want to say, I'm saying I'm building a concrete house. Concrete house means I have to build a quality house.
Yes.
I'm not going to use block. It means my specification, my standard is concrete.
Oh, okay.
What am I required to use to achieve this standard I've placed? I won't be using block.
Obviously, yes.
Those things are the requirements. That is a simple example. The
Okay.
design stage is different. The architect have done his job of giving me a pictorial pictogram of what I want to achieve. Then I decide the standard. The standard determines
Specification.
the requirements. The standard is the specification. The specification now determines the requirements.
Okay.
I don't,
You said the
do you
specification
understand?
determine the requirements.
Yes. The
Right.
specification is just like standard. That's why you will see here American spec vehicle is what is their standard.
Yes.
You get?
Yes.
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 It's
Okay,
their
that's like the
standard.
standard that is going to be used to build any
Yes.
vehicle
To
that wants
build,
to.
yes, thank you. You don't go below
Okay,
that standard.
you don't go below that standard.
If you want to go
Okay,
below that standard, it means the tools required will be different.
so where does the consumer expectation come in? Is it going to be before the specifications, or is it just going to be okay standing on the specifications?
Consumer expectation comes before the design stage. After the design
Yes.
stage, you enter the standardization and the requirements. For instance, before you design a thing, you would have done your market survey. What do these people want? How do
Yes.
they want? That is first stage. Second stage, you've gotten what they wanted. You begin to design it. Designing this stuff now, yes, you are designing what your customers want. Not everybody will get it. Probably your target market are the rich. That is where the standard comes in. The standard where the rich can only get this, not the poor anymore. It is out there for you, the poor. Whenever you get rich, you get it by standard. Then the standard determines what are we use, the quality, the materials are we use to bring out that quality. That's, you've not gotten what I mean.
Okay, yes, I think I understand what you're saying. But okay, don't worry.
Please let me give a reference. I want
Yeah,
just
good.
a helping reference.
Yes.
You can there's a course on this on Coursera and on software development lifecycle. We can pick it. You can sign in with your debit card, but you can opt out after some days when you got what you need. There's a really an in-depth course on this, handled by the professor and one other software engineer with over 10 years of experience and all that. It really help us. It's a reference. You can go through it. You sign in with your debit card. After 2 or 3 days or so, if you can concentrate time before the 30th day, you can concentrate time and get what you want between 1 day or 2 days. You can opt out on the second day, and they will not charge you. That is what I did on this course anyway.
Okay.
They
Thank
broke
you.
everything down, and you have some quiz to take and all that. So that's just a reference I think can be of help to us.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
It's a video course.
Yes. Okay. Sorry, just one more thing. Sorry, I don't know who just talked about the specifications now. I want to ask a question. Person still on call.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So, can you try to highlight, from what you said, try to highlight the phases of software development lifecycle, from what you said. I want to try and highlight it.
Okay. The phases of any development, I think they are same. Any development, not just software development.
Okay, from what you said.
When you build anything, when you want to build anything, they have same phase, same roadmap you follow actually.
Okay.
I think first phase, you get what your customers, your end users want. 2, you sit down, you think of it, you draft you draft a design of what they want. And that is where you enter the planning stage. This thing they want, how can we achieve it? What are the things? What is the standard of this thing we are going to produce for our end users? When that comes in.
Sorry to cut you. That means the first stage is going to be which stage? That's which phase? Is it going to? Yes.
The first stage is getting what the end users actually want. Yes.
Is it not still under the planning and requirements stage?
All of these things, the planning stage, all of these things are called planning.
Okay, yes.
All of them are called planning.
Okay.
Then in planning, you have phases.
Okay.
You get what your customers want.
Okay.
Then you sit down, you say, okay, this is what they want, they design that. After the design, you begin to talk about the specification. After specification, you talk about the requirements.
All right.
What will be required for this specification to be achieved,
Okay.
for this particular standard to be achieved. Then after that, you move to the testing, you start your development proper, and then move to the testing stage before you deploy.
All right. All right. Well, yes. Okay. So I think I understand what you said. I understand what you said. I think it's still like following the same like processes. You understand? But one shouldn't come before the other, right?
No, if it doesn't, if one comes before the other, it means you are bridging. You won't get it
Okay.
right.
So we need the consumer expectations first.
First, yes,
Yes. Okay. Then from there, we're able to um,
get a
gather,
design.
yes, like the specifications, the
Yes,
requirements, right? Then
yes.
yes, then from there we're able to bring like a prototype or a working design of the project I want to build, right?
Whatever. Yeah, yes.
Then we build the real thing and then test
Prop
it, then
test,
deploy it.
then
All
deploy.
right.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you everyone for contribution. I also gave a lot. Just it was very nice. So I think that's all. That's all.
Uh-huh.
Mr. Samuel, you done, sir. Thank you very much.
Hello? Hello? Hello, can anyone hear me?